The world held its breath for Islamabad this April 21st. Everyone expected white smoke. After months of tensions that put the global energy supply at risk, the United States and Iran were finally supposed to sit down at the table. But when the doors to the conference room opened, one side was empty. Iran didn't just skip the meeting, they turned their absence into a global act of defiance. As you watch this video, a fleet of oil tankers is at a standstill. Billions of dollars in goods are blocked, and the Trump administration has just made a decision that contradicts everything promised last week. But make no mistake, what looks like a diplomatic retreat is, in reality, the most dangerous phase of a silent war. Today we're going to understand the hidden gears of this tug-of-war. Who is actually winning, and why is the Pentagon more worried about its missile stockpiles than about dialogue? To understand the present, we need to look at the map. Iran is the gatekeeper of one of the most vital passages on the planet. But now, the US has flipped the script. The American naval blockade of Iranian ports isn't just a physical barrier, it's a surgical asphyxiation. Pentagon data reveals staggering numbers. More than 30 vessels have been forced to turn back. 2 were boarded and seized in international waters. Washington's goal is crystal clear: zero exports. Oil is the backbone of the Tehran regime. Without it, the country has no dollars. Without dollars, the Rial, the local currency, collapses. And that is exactly what's happening. Last week, the Rial hit its historic low. Imagine waking up and finding your money is worth half of what it was yesterday. This creates a social chaos that no bomb can replicate. China and India, which historically ignored sanctions, are now at a crossroads. With the US Navy actively patrolling, the cost of freight and insurance for smuggled oil has skyrocketed. Contraband no longer offsets the risk. The siege is closed. But this is where the American plan hits its first major roadblock. There is a magic number that keeps any American president awake at night: 100. When a barrel of oil touches $100, geopolitics finds a new master. The blockade works to dry up Iran's cash, but it slashes the global supply. And with low supply, prices explode. Iran knows this. They don't need to fire a single missile at a Saudi ship to cause damage. Simply maintaining the blockade and the constant threat to the Strait of Hormuz keeps the market in a state of panic. Here's the irony: the more the US squeezes Iran, the more expensive it becomes to transport goods in Ohio, London, and Tokyo. European NATO allies are starting to whisper criticisms in the corridors of Brussels. They don't want a long war that destroys their already fragile economies. Tehran is betting that the world's pain will be greater than the pain of its own people. But who is calling the shots in Iran? After the strikes that decapitated the former political and religious leadership in the early days of the conflict, the power vacuum was filled by a ruthless force: the Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC. Iran is no longer the same country it was 2 years ago. It is now an authentic military war dictatorship. For these generals, diplomacy is seen as terminal weakness. They've survived sanctions for 40 years. They've built a resistance economy based on tunnels, black markets, and shadowy partnerships. For the IRGC, sitting down to negotiate with Trump while American ships block their ports would be signing their own political death warrant. They need the conflict to justify their total control over the population. They aren't just fighting the US, they are fighting to maintain internal power. Now, let's talk about what the mainstream media isn't emphasizing. Why did Trump extend the ceasefire if he promised maximum force? The answer lies in the stockpiles. Sources linked to the defense industry indicate that the intensity of the first months of war consumed precision missile stocks, like Tomahawks, at an alarming rate. The US industrial base cannot replace these weapons as fast as they are being fired. Furthermore, the loss of high-end aircraft over Iranian soil showed that Tehran's air defenses are far more sophisticated than expected. Iran is not Iraq in 2003. The environment is hostile, mountainous, and saturated with low-cost drones that can take down multi-million-dollar jets. The ceasefire extension is a tactical pause. Washington needs to restock its shelves and convince increasingly reluctant NATO allies to send more logistical support. We are in a Mexican standoff. No one wants to shoot first, but no one wants to lower their gun. On one side, the United States has the economic muscle. They can destroy the real and isolate Iran from the banking system. On the other, Iran has the advantage of time and resilience. They are playing at home. They know that in an election year or a global economic crisis, the American public's patience with gas prices is short. Trump's retreat was read in Tehran as a sign. The Americans blinked. But did they blink, or are they just preparing a bigger blow? Operational reality tells us this war has changed faces. It's no longer about who has the biggest army, but who has the highest pain tolerance. If internal revolts in Iran explode before gas prices kill Trump's support, the US wins. If the global market enters a recession because of oil, Tehran gets its symbolic victory. The honest answer to the question, who is winning, is a bitter one: no one. Iran survived, but at a human and economic cost that will take decades to repair. The United States maintains its hegemony, but at the cost of its own internal stability and cohesion with allies. The Strait of Hormuz remains the trigger of a gun pointed at the head of the world economy. And as long as diplomats don't meet in closed rooms, the world continues to hold its breath with every new intelligence report. But what about you? What do you think of this silent asphyxiation strategy by the US? Is it worth paying more at the pump to maintain this siege, or should the world force a negotiation at any cost? If you want to understand the next steps of this crisis and how it affects your wallet and global security, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell, because at any moment this ceasefire could end, and we'll be the first to tell you why. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next analysis.